Am I the a-hole for not giving my brother and wife the bigger room? My brother's wife lost her job, which has caused them to lose the house they were renting. My brother asked if he could stay with me. I talked to my boyfriend, and he said sure. So, I told my brother yes, but he can't bring any of their furniture with them. We don't have any room for any of it. Our spare room has a bed and dressers in it already. He'll have to find a place to store their things. He wasn't happy about it, but said okay, and that was that. When they started moving their clothes and whatnot in, they started complaining about how small the room was. I ignored it, because they were used to a rather large house. And I was sympathetic, because I know how it feels to go from having everything to nothing. I apologized and told them that this was the best we had. Issue. My son was in his room, and started crying. I went in there to check on him, and my brother got mad. I usually keep his door closed when he's napping. I have a baby monitor, and I guess my brother saw how large his room is. It's not big, at all. By any means. It's just bigger than the spare room. He asked, why the hell we gave him the small room when we can just move our son into the spare room. I told him I'm not moving my son and all his things into a different room, when the spare bedroom is perfectly fine for the two of them, as long as they don't try to move their entire house into one room. He got mad. She got mad. They threw a fit. Then my brother asked, why we don't move my son into our room. I told him that my son's crib won't fit in our room. And again, I'm not moving him just to accommodate them. The last week or so has been very tense. Small comments here. Cold shoulder there. Petty shoulder checks from his wife if we cross close together. I've kept my mouth shut, because I love my brother, and I don't want to cause trouble. Plus, if they weren't so pissy, I guess is the word, they wouldn't be hard to live with. They've started to complain that my son's crying at night is keeping them awake. Which, I get, but he's a baby. He only wakes once a night to eat. And that's not even all the time. This morning it all came to a head when my brother told me I should move into the spare room and let them have mine and my boyfriend's room, so that they don't get woken up by the baby. When I told him no, he started yelling. Calling me selfish and entitled. Told me that I should let them have my room, because my son is an annoying little ish that keeps them up every night, all night. Where I may be the a-hole. I saw red. Let me start this by saying I did not yell at my brother as he yelled at me. I said, if you can't appreciate the room you were given, you can go elsewhere. My boyfriend and I have been more than accommodating to you. You constantly complain. You're ungrateful and rude. Get over yourself or get out of my house. I'm asking if I'm the a-hole because my mother called and told me I'm an a-hole, for not giving the married couple the big bedroom with the connected bathroom. And apparently my other siblings agree? Added to add, they do not pay rent. My boyfriend and I own our home and don't pay anything on it. They pay the difference on the electricity bill and buy some of their own groceries. I do the majority of the cooking and all the cleaning. Added to add, boyfriend and I are going to talk about kicking them out tonight when he gets off work. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole at all. If you can't appreciate the room you were given, you can go elsewhere. My boyfriend and I have been more than accommodating to you. You constantly complain. You're ungrateful and rude. Get over yourself or get out of my house. You're a lot nicer than I am. I would have added a few choice 4-letter words and or kicked them out on the spot. You're doing them a favor and they're coming across as entitled heads. Added after update 1, 2, and 3, time for your entitled brother and sister-in-law to hit the pavement. Since the rest of your family is so up in arms about the situation, ask them who the next volunteer to take them in is. Right? That seems almost inhumanly reasonable in this situation. Major props, so pee not the a-hole and get them the F out of your house. Not the a-hole. Your brother called your son, a literal baby, an annoying-ish girl. You need to evict him and his wife yesterday. He does not get to cause an inconvenience in your home to your family, insult your child, and make sleeping arrangement demands, because he's bitter he has a smaller room than he wanted. Agree. He crossed the line. Ask your family who is siding with them to offer up their bedrooms to them. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, but you are entitled. Entitled to decide what room you donate to your brother. Entitled to decide what room your baby sleeps in. Entitled to safety of your person, and how you want to be respected in your own home. And entitled to tell them to shut up or ship out. But you should sit them down tonight, explain that you understand their position, obviously things aren't working out, and you are sad that you couldn't make it work. You are sorry that things got heated. So, You are giving them written notice to move for the end of November. You can't have the stress and tension, the horrible things they say about your child, and the attacks by your sister-in-law. In the meantime, if they find something sooner, you'll return this month's rent. They do not pay rent. They pay the difference of the electricity and buy some of their own groceries. And my boyfriend and I are going to talk about kicking them out tonight when he gets off work. Wow. You are definitely not the a-hole. I don't like babies, but I'd never complain about the baby of someone who was letting me stay for free. I think most sane people would feel the same way. So even if they aren't a fan of young children, they should never have complained that your kid makes noise, shocker, or tried to kick your kid out of his room. If anything, they should be trying to make your life easier as a way to show their appreciation. They could have done cleaning for you, cooked meals, handled the grocery shopping, etc. Instead, you're doing all these things for them. It's absurd. They aren't expressing any gratitude, and they don't even seem to acknowledge that this is a huge favor from you. One thing, OP, do you know the laws in your area? When does someone become a tenant? Are squatters' rights a live issue? Your brother and sister-in-law sound like exactly the type of a-holes who will linger there, until they can claim an entitlement to your house. Don't let them. Make sure they are gone before they can tie you up in having to waste time/money filing paperwork with the courts to evict them. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for no longer inviting my brother to my house? Last weekend, I had a small get-together for immediate family only, they are in our social bubble, for my son's birthday. My brother brought my nephew, 8 mil, to my house. He has a history of being destructive to people's homes, and my brother and sister-in-law do not discipline him. According to them, he just doesn't listen, so they just give him what he wants. This is not the first time my nephew has destroyed my house, or other relatives for that matter, and I finally had enough. The last time they were over, my son, 17 mil, saw him mistreating our cat. After they left and saw that he dumped out all of our soap and shampoo in the bathroom on the floor, when my daughter, 15 female, slipped on the tiles. This last visit he drew all over a brand new couch with the markers sister-in-law brought for him to color with. I had asked her to not let him color on the couch, instead he should color at the kitchen table so it could be washed off. When I confronted my sister-in-law about it, she told me, "It's just a couch, you can get slipcovers." I told her that wasn't the point, that once again he has come to my house and destroyed something and I was tired of having to pay to clean/replace the things he destroyed. My brother intervened, and said that I was being overdramatic, and that he was just a kid. I told my brother that they needed to leave. The next day I called him and told him that they weren't welcome back into my house, and that they could either pay for someone to come clean the couch or for the cost of a replacement. My brother told me that it was never going to happen. An hour later I get a call from my other sister who congratulated me for sticking to my guns, and she plans to do the same. My mom got wind of this and called me and told me that I was being out of line, and that nephew doesn't mean to do this, and that it was an accident. That according to sister-in-law, you can barely see it and I was just trying to get a free couch. So, I sent my mom a picture of the doodles on my couch that nephew made. She now agrees my brother should absolutely pay to clean the couch or replace it, but that I am going too far by banning them from my home. I told her I disagreed, and that he can always go to her house and destroy her stuff if she wants to see us all together. Am I the a-hole for not inviting them to my house anymore? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. 8 is old enough to know better than to draw on furniture. That's something I'd expect from a 4-year-old. My 4-year-old wouldn't do this, because he knows better. Not the a-hole. You are doing the right thing and it's in your nephew's best interests that you take this stance. Your brother and sister-in-law are trying to parent the easiest way for them. If more people would join you in this, maybe it would spur your brother and sister-in-law into actually raising their son. They are letting him run feral, and that could harm your nephew for life. Yes, that kid needs boundaries, if he ever wants to function later on in life. Your nephew is the a-hole. It's like your brother and sister-in-law rubbed their a-holes together and made a bigger a-hole. You're not the a-hole. Years ago, my sister came into town with her little monsters. My wife had enough, when they were rubbing their hands across our fridge knocking off all the magnets and child art. She laid into them like they were her own kids. Had them in line real quick. My sister must have been numb to their antics. She suddenly started keeping a closer eye on her sons. I predict bad things for your nephew. Stay strong. Your brother is betraying a family trust by not respecting your home. Document all future encounters. They sound like they are not above trying to turn your mother against you. Oh, and we want to see the pictures. My wife had enough when they were rubbing their hands across our fridge, knocking off all the magnets and child art. She laid into them like they were her own kids. Had them in line real quick. I love your wife. My mom is just like this. Other kids respect her more for it, lol. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that, just because she recently became a foster parent, does not mean she is a super mom? Buckle up, ladies and gents. I'm probably the a-hole, or at least I feel like a dumb C currently. So, I'm 26, female, and I have a 7-year-old daughter. My sister, my twin, has chosen to never have her own kids and to be a foster mom. She was approved for this going on a month and a half ago, and as of 3.5 weeks later, she was chosen to foster a 10-year-old, sweetheart of a boy. She has only had him for around 2 weeks. I have always been supportive of this decision. Now my issue is that, since she has had this boy in her care, she has become overbearing. Mommy mode kicked in full force, which is great, but she is now overstepping everyone else with their own children. For instance, she recently read a book that stated children ages 10 and under should have no more than 30 minutes of screen time a day, as it stunts mental growth. So now every time she is over, she will flip off my TV, which I use for music, as my daughter doesn't really watch TV. Or she read somewhere that if you even so much as speak loudly, even while laughing, it triggers kids' minds and causes upset. So now, whenever she is at any of our homes, she instantly slaps her hand over our mouths if we are too loud, because she doesn't want to upset the boy. The final straw was her coming over yesterday, and saying she needed to talk to my daughter alone. When my daughter came back in, she was crying. I asked my daughter what was going on and she said, "Auntie told me that I'm not being nice, because I wouldn't let Christopher touch my special doll, and that I made him upset because he doesn't have anything special, so I need to share." She said, "I need to let Christopher play with it." Her special doll is kept on her shelf and not even touched by her, as her deceased grandfather gave it to her. It's a collectible. My sister was sitting there with a smile on her face and said, "See? All taken care of." And then proceeded to walk to my daughter's room to grab the doll. I lost my crap. I told her to leave, and that just because she has been a mom for 2 weeks, does not make her a super mom, and that her actions are making it harder to deal with her. I told her that once she learned to act like an adult and stop forcing all of us to follow her pathetic rules, she would be allowed back, but not a moment before. I also told her that the doll is staying on the shelf and I don't give a damn who that offends. She is saying I'm an insensitive a-hole, and will not be allowed around my nephew until I apologize. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She is going too far. You set the boundaries. Even if she is a foster parent, it doesn't allow her to do whatever she would like to in your house or anywhere else. Exactly. She can be the mom to her kids. But not yours. Just keep telling her that. Not the a-hole. She should know that the first priority is to reunite the child with his biological family. Referring to him as her son, and OP's nephew is not a good idea, especially after only 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure that would be frowned upon by the caseworker. Not the a-hole. Yeah, you could have been nicer about it, but there are so many things wrong here. 1, you don't put hands on someone. I'd have slapped her hand off my mouth and kicked her butt out when she tried to get me to quiet down. 2, just because you believe a thing you've read, doesn't give you the right to inflict it upon others. You should have walked right over and turned your TV back on. 3, your child does not have to share anything they don't want to. Especially an heirloom. The fact that your own child doesn't play with it means no other child should either. Your sister has issues with boundaries, and it sounds like you're doing a good job trying to enforce them. Not the a-hole. Also, if my brother clapped his hand over my mouth, I'd put my elbow through his nose. Who the F touches people like that? Edit, I love my brother, he'd never pull this crap. Violence is bad, stay in school. What is that sound? Oh. It's a helicopter. Wait, no. It's a helicopter parent complaining / being annoying. Not the a-hole. Her foster son sounds miserable. As in he is going to feel miserable, because apparently, I am attacking a kid, I guess? Her foster son is probably severely traumatized. She's absolutely being rude to her sister and shouldn't have spoken to her niece about the doll, and should ask before turning someone's TV off. But she's right for protecting the kid as much as she can from yelling in the house, and spending quality time instead of TV time as much as possible. When you're taking care of a child who has been abused and or neglected, who likely has PTSD and is actively recovering from trauma, you want to give him a little more attention than you'd give a well-adjusted, safe child who has been raised in a loving and secure home since birth. That's just basic common sense.